Yes, I'm a polar. As you can see, I'm a polar bear, so I broke the ice between us. And sadly, that's what's happening currently in the polar ice caps. And it's sad, I know. But it's just some of the facts. But we're going to show you the rest. Today, we will be joined by 4 special guests. Our data analyst, 2 of our amazing reporters, and my personal favorite, of course, super amazing scientist. Hello, 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 hello. Hello.
Can you please go down?
Sure.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go to our reporters.
Hi, so we are the reporters, and today we're going to be talking about the CO2 levels rising in the present. So to begin with, we have sea levels rising in different countries, especially in the Tangier Islands in Virginia, where the sea levels are rising and destroying the island, destroying homes.
Security?
What is this? Security! Get her out of the shot! Backstage!
Guys, this is still going on.
Okay, so anyway, and also it's way too warm to grow plants, especially in countries closest to the equator where it's already naturally warm and they are getting warmer and warmer. It's also destroying forests and making it impossible for certain species to survive because they don't have any habitats anymore, and we need these species for us humans too. There's also extreme weather conditions that leads to larger damages. For example, extreme droughts, extreme precipitation, and happening all in different countries. And these are also creating a lot of damage. And to end this, there's also increased chances of having natural disasters. For example, in Florida and Texas, in the United States of America, there was a hurricane of type 5, which will become even more common because of the global warming. So now we're going to pass this on to my wonderful colleague, who is going to be talking about what might happen in the future.
Okay, as my coworker said, I'm going to be talking about the CO2 levels rising in the future and how it's going to affect our atmosphere. Okay, this as she said, the seas will gradually rise because the ice will suddenly melt because of the extreme weather conditions. But after then, it will slowly disappear, and we might not even have water to drink or bathe in. So we really need to improve that.
It's also, as our presenter said, the ice caps are melting. Yes.
Okay, the CO2 levels rising. It's going to cause global warming and could have major impacts of agriculture. As she said, we're going to be losing trees and everything's just got to disappear. It's very similar what's got to happen now, what might happen then. The extreme weather, it's got to be very hot, so we might be going around naked. And one more thing, this will lead to a spread of diseases because the humid can make everything get sick and everyone will spread diseases. There'll be new diseases that we've never heard about, but CO2 will cause that. And as you heard, the effects on CO2 could be very extreme if we don't improve our ways of living and try to improve this major problem.
Thank you. This was us reporters, and we're going to pass this on to our wonderful scientists.
So, we're back. We have the super amazing
Hello.
I have a bunch of questions to ask you. Hopefully you
Sure.
can answer them.
Yes.
You should have researched this before you came to the show because you knew what we were telling you.
Yes.
Anyway, so what is the importance of CO2 in our atmosphere?
The importance of CO2 in our atmosphere is that it keeps the earth warm with the greenhouse, and with that CO2, we will have no plants, and if we had no CO2 in our atmosphere, the temperature would go minus, and too much CO2 would be really hot.
How does CO2 get into our atmosphere? It makes no sense. to us.
Get released into the air.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes. Animals get rid of carbon dioxide gas through a process called respiration, which means carbon moves from fossil fuels to the atmosphere when fuels are burned. And when we burn fossil fuels to power factories, power plants, electricity is produced by coal. Cars and trucks Most of the carbon dioxide quickly enters the atmosphere as carbon dioxide gas.
Very factual. What are the effects of the CO2 level?
We have a lot of extra carbon which needs to go. So far, land plants and the ocean have taken up about 55% of the extra carbon dioxide, and the extra carbon people have put into the atmosphere, while about 45% has stayed in our atmosphere, and the land and oceans will take up most of the extra carbon dioxide. As much as 20% may remain in the atmosphere for many thousands of years.
Okay. How do we measure CO2 levels in the past?
They collected small samples of ancient air stored in glacial ice, and its ice is used to look back in the past, and we can see data from 800,000 years ago until now, and by looking at the air bubbles that are trapped in the ice. Yes.
That's why we need the glaciers.
Ah.
See? That's why they're useful.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello everybody. Unfortunately, the data analyst is not here today because she's in Hawaii studying the CO2 rising. So can we please have Gemma Strauss online?
Yeah, she's on.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on with her.
Hello, I am a data analyst. Today I'm going to compare my research that I found about CO2 levels in the atmosphere globally from 1995 to 2002. CO2 emissions can be measured either from the air or ice as the gas is trapped. The CO2 emissions have raised from 358 ppm in 1995 to 370 ppm in 2002. The growth of CO2 is increasing because of the pollution people create in their daily life. This is a graph of the CO2 levels per year in Antarctica from CDIACC. This graph shows the CO2 levels in the atmosphere from 1995 to 2002. It also shows the difference in CO2 levels of Hawaii and globally. This is the red line, which is global, and the blue line is in Hawaii. So they're almost the same, pretty much the same. This graph shows that from 1001 to 1800, the level of CO2 in the atmosphere is all in the same level. When it gets to around 1850, the CO2 levels rise all the way to 2002.
Finally, we want you to know that all of us can help. There are a few ways for us to decrease global warming and CO2 levels. First off, carpool. It lowers the amount of fuel we use, meaning that there's less smoke from the pipe in the back that comes out, safer for our environment, and we'll be able to breathe. Recycle as best you can. We're already recycling now, aren't we? But it's still not enough. We have so much plastic that we produce every day, meaning that there's so much carbon dioxide coming from those factories. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? Reduce your waste. When you buy water, keep the bottle or recycle it. Planting trees. We should do this. Like, it's fun to plant trees, isn't it? Why can't we do it anyway? They take in our CO2, they give us oxygen, we can breathe. Use clean fuel. If you really, really, really have to use a car, like you can't carpool, use like an electric car or something that runs on vegetable oil. Those cars exist. Turn off the lights when you leave your room or the house. You use so much electricity from them. Unplug chargers because you don't need them, and they could also set on fire. You know that? Turn off waters and taps. That's also wasting water. That's another fact. Like, water is a lot to clean. The world will be a better place when you do all of these things. And you can start it all today. So join in and help us reduce global warming. And this is the Shes Show. You can see us to the next episode. Follow us on all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, swipe right on my Tinder. Wait, no, cut.
So we're the presenters. I'm going to be talking about the CO2 levels rising in the current present. So, I don't know who that was. I don't know what happened, but this is our show and everything is crazy.
Yeah, I get him.
On this
Get her,
show.
get her,
She's on backstage. Be careful.
Hey,
Take her out of the shot.
Thank you,
I'm sorry.
security.
Thank you.
Turn off the lights when you leave your room or the house. Duh.
Are living very horrible lives because they have no more houses to live in, and everything is being. Can we get her out of the shot? Security!
Security, that is someone that wants my autograph in a sheet.
Thank you!
She is out of control.
The GS show. As you already know, because you've been watching this for like 10 minutes or something.
Close to the equators where the weather is good.
We can cut it out. I'm not. I'm sorry. She's Wait, she no.
Survive, as they will have no more habitats, but we need them still alive for us.